Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most inspiring and life-changing stories. Today, you are about to hear a story that is not just about success. It is about struggle, pain, determination, and the power of never giving up. This is the story of a young boy who had nothing, not a single penny, not a comfortable home, not even enough food to eat. A boy who lost everything at a young age, who had no one to help him, and who faced hunger, loneliness, and endless hardships. But that boy did not accept his fate. He refused to give up. He walked for 2 years, covering a distance of 470 kilometers with no money, no food, and no shelter. He faced storms, hunger, and exhaustion, but he never stopped. That boy later became the founder of the world's most powerful luxury brand, Louis Vuitton. How did he do it? How did a homeless, hungry boy become the creator of a billion-dollar empire? Everything in this story is true. Every struggle, every success, and every detail. This story is not just inspiring. It is a powerful way to improve your English with engaging storytelling, rich vocabulary, and real-life lessons. In this video, we will focus on 3 important words: hardship, which means difficult life conditions; determination, which is the feeling of not giving up; and craftsmanship, which means the beautiful skill of making things by hand. Now, let us begin from the very start. In the year 1821, in a small village called Angers, France, a baby boy was born into a poor family. His name was Louis Vuitton. But life did not welcome him with comfort or wealth. From the moment he was born, he was surrounded by hardship. His father, Xavier Vuitton, was a carpenter, a hard-working man who built furniture, and his mother, Coronne Gaillard, was a hat maker who spent her days sewing hats for local women. They worked day and night, yet their earnings were barely enough to buy food. Louis grew up in a tiny wooden house with a leaking roof and cold, damp floors. Winters in Angers were brutal. Snow covered the village for months, and cold winds made life even harder. There was no heating, no warm blankets, and no comfortable bed. Louis and his family had to survive with whatever they had. At a young age, he learned that life was not fair. He did not have the toys that rich children had. He did not go to school like them. Instead, he spent his childhood helping his father in carpentry, carrying heavy wooden planks, hammering nails, and cleaning sawdust from the floor. His hands were rough, his clothes were torn, and his stomach often remained empty. But Louis was different from other children in his village. Even though he was poor, even though he had nothing, he had a dream. Every day travelers passed through his village. Rich men and women dressed in fine clothes, carrying large wooden trunks and suitcases. Louis would watch them with fascination. Where were they going? How far were they traveling? Who made those beautiful trunks they carried? He had never seen the world beyond his small village, but his heart longed to know more. He was curious, hungry for knowledge, and desperate for a better life. But fate was not kind to him. When Louis was just 10 years old, his mother fell sick. There were no hospitals in the village, no doctors to treat her. Day by day her condition worsened, and one morning Louis's mother took her last breath. His world had fallen apart. His father, broken by grief, became distant and cold. For the first time, Louis felt completely alone. But in that moment of pain, he made a decision. He would not stay in this village forever. He would not accept a life of poverty. He would leave and chase his dream. At the age of 13, Louis had no money, no horse, and no food. Paris, the city of dreams, was 470 kilometers away. One evening, as the village prepared for sleep, Louis packed a small bag. He had no map, no guide, only a dream. He did not tell his father. He did not say goodbye to anyone. Before the sun could rise, Louis took his first step on the long road to Paris. He did not know how he would survive, but his determination pushed him forward. He walked for hours, then days, then weeks. His feet were sore, his body weak. Sometimes kind strangers gave him food. Other times he went to bed hungry, lying under trees, using his bag as a pillow. He crossed forests, mountains, and rivers. He worked as a farm helper in small villages, earning food in exchange for labor. Rain soaked his clothes, winter winds burned his skin, but he never turned back. After 2 years of walking, struggling, and surviving with nothing but determination, Louis Vuitton finally arrived in Paris. But Paris was not the magical place he had imagined. The city was massive, filled with thousands of people, carriages rushing through the streets, and markets overflowing with food and luxury goods. The air smelled of fresh bread, roasted coffee, and perfume, things Louis had never experienced. But there was also another side to Paris. The streets were dirty, packed with beggars, thieves, and struggling workers who barely made enough to eat. Paris was cruel to those who had nothing, and Louis had no home, no family, and no money. He stood at the edge of the city, exhausted, his clothes torn, his feet bleeding from the long journey. He slept his first night in Paris inside an empty wooden cart abandoned near a bakery, shivering in the cold wind. The next morning, hunger forced him to wake up early and look for work. He walked from shop to shop asking for a job, but every time the answer was the same: no experience, no work, no chance. Days passed, and Louis grew weaker, eating scraps from the market, picking up leftover bread from the ground. But he refused to give up. One evening he noticed a man struggling to carry a large wooden trunk into a shop. Without thinking, Louis ran forward and grabbed the other side of the trunk.
The shop owner, Monsieur Maréchal, watched Louis with sharp eyes and asked his name. Louis said, "I want to work. I cannot make trunks, but I can learn. Give me a chance and I will work harder than anyone else." Maréchal agreed to let him start as a helper. The next morning, Louis arrived before sunrise in the freezing workshop, sweeping floors and cleaning tools. One evening, after everyone had left, Louis stayed behind, picking up a small wooden panel and practicing how to hammer, carve, and stitch. Maréchal noticed his perfect work and began teaching him the true art of craftsmanship. Months turned into years, and by the time Louis was 20, his hands were no longer those of a poor village boy. They were the hands of a skilled artisan. He was faster, more precise, and more creative than the other workers. Nobles and wealthy customers began requesting him by name. One day, Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III and the ruler of France, entered the shop. She needed a trunk that was elegant, functional, and light. At that time, Traditional trunks were heavy, round-topped and covered in thick leather, making them impossible to stack. Louis proposed a revolutionary idea: a flat-topped trunk covered in waterproof canvas instead of leather. For weeks he worked day and night, using lightweight poplar wood and an innovative waterproof Trianon canvas. When the final piece was ready, it was a masterpiece. The Empress was amazed and declared Louis her personal trunk maker. This changed everything. The elite of Paris flooded him with orders, and Louis made the bold decision to leave the workshop and start his own business. He opened a small shop as a trunk maker, crafting every piece by hand. But soon the Franco-Prussian War broke out, turning the streets of Paris into battlefields. His business collapsed, and he was on the edge of bankruptcy. However, when the war ended, people wanted to travel again with style and elegance.
Louis rebuilt his business, expanding in 1871 to a massive workshop in Asnières. He married Clémence Émilie Pariot, and together they had a son named Georges. Louis targeted the wealthiest clients, knowing that luxury and exclusivity would build a lasting brand. Owning a Louis Vuitton trunk became a global status symbol. Before passing away in 1892, Louis gave his son Georges one final lesson: never sell cheap, never sell to the masses. Our name must always stand for the best. Georges expanded the empire, introducing the iconic LV monogram in 1896 to stop counterfeiters, and taking the brand global. In the following decades, under leaders like Gaston, Louis Vuitton, and later Henri Racamier, the brand survived the Great Depression and World War II, transforming into a modern fashion icon, offering luxury handbags like the Speedy and the Keepall. In 1987, the company merged with Moet Hennessy, creating LVMH, the richest luxury company in the world, which was later taken over by Bernard Arnault. Today, Louis Vuitton represents absolute exclusivity. Every product is handmade by the best artisans and remains the ultimate sign of wealth. The story of Louis Vuitton is a lesson in determination, vision, and risk-taking. From a poor, homeless boy to the creator of the biggest luxury empire, he proved that hardship can be overcome with true craftsmanship and hard work. Every step was built on excellence. So the next time you face difficulties, remember the boy who walked 470 kilometers for his dream. Thank you for listening today. We hope you learned valuable English words and gained incredible motivation. Keep practicing and never give up.